I'm divorcing you, and I've already sold our beach house to start over with my trainer. She laughed through the phone. I kept my voice steady and replied, I understand. My name is Keller Whitaker. At 52, I'd spent 23 years as a commercial property negotiator based in Jacksonville, Florida. I specialized in uncovering overlooked value in contracts others rushed to sign. My career thrived on patience, precision, and catching the details that others missed. Unfortunately, I hadn't applied the same scrutiny to my marriage. Not until it was almost too late. The call came on a Thursday morning. I was in Brussels finalizing a warehouse acquisition for a major American shipping company. 4 days into the trip and 6,000 miles from home. That's when Vanessa decided it was the perfect moment to end our 15-year marriage. Colin, I need a fresh start, she continued. Her voice carried the same smug confidence I'd heard in countless divorce stories from colleagues. The beach house sold for a good price. I've already signed the papers. Kyle Bennett, her personal trainer for the last 18 months. 35 years old, drove a car he couldn't afford, and once asked me, without a hint of embarrassment, how much my watch cost. I didn't slam the desk, didn't yell. I just asked calmly, when did you close the sale? Yesterday, she answered, sounding almost annoyed at my lack of reaction. The buyer moves in next week. I figured you'd be fine staying at the Marriott since you're always traveling. Anyway, she hung up. I sat there at the hotel desk for nearly an hour, staring out at the Brussels skyline. Then I opened my laptop and sent 2 emails. One to Monica Harrison, my title agent of 10 years, and one to Brian Eldridge, my lawyer since before I'd even met Vanessa. The subject line read, Urgent, fraudulent property sale attempt. Outside my window, light rain began falling. I watched umbrellas open as people rushed into cafes. 15 years together, and Vanessa didn't know me at all. She thought I was passive, predictable, that I'd just roll over and accept whatever she decided. But she'd missed one crucial detail. You don't spend 2 decades in property negotiation without learning how to protect your assets. And you never leave your livelihood to chance. Especially when your instincts have been quietly warning you for months. I met Vanessa Sanders 16 years ago at a real estate conference in Orlando. She was working in luxury property management, sharp suits, sharper ambition. I admired her confidence and quick thinking. We married within a year, courthouse wedding, just her sister and my brother. We bought the beach house on Amelia Island 3 years later. 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, wraparound deck, full ocean view. It cost $1.2 million. My entire savings, plus a hefty mortgage. Weekends were spent with me repairing siding, upgrading the kitchen, replacing deck boards. Vanessa decorated. Hosted friends. This is our forever place, she'd said, raising her wine glass our first night there. I believed her. For over a decade, we made it work. She left property management to start an interior design business, giving her flexibility to travel with me when she felt like it. I extended business trips to include weekend getaways. Paris, Tokyo, Barcelona. We seemed solid, or so I thought. The first crack showed 2 years ago. She stopped asking about my work. Declined travel invites. Her texts grew cold. Safe flight. Good luck. No more, I miss you. Then came the gym obsession. 5 days a week with Kyle. At first, I supported her focus on health. But then there were charges on our credit card for dinners I hadn't attended. Spa retreats with friends I'd never met. Still, I didn't confront her. Didn't plant trackers or hire PIs like some colleagues. I just watched, noted, and prepared. 11 months ago, I transferred the beach house into a living trust, buried among refinance documents for our Tampa investment property. Vanessa signed everything without reading, too busy texting while my lawyer waited patiently. This protects both of us, I told her. That wasn't a complete lie. The structure did offer protection, just not the kind she thought. I never brought it up again. Just observed. As she grew more distant, more glued to her phone, more dismissive of our future. After I emailed Brian from Brussels, I opened my briefcase, took out the deed. I always traveled with it, a habit I'd formed early in my career when a client tried to back out of a deal. The deed showed the Amelia Island property was held in the Keller Whitaker Living Trust. I was the sole trustee. Vanessa had no legal right to sell it. The irony didn't escape me. In our early years, she mocked my obsession with contracts and fine print. Life's too short for documents, Keller, she'd laugh. But contracts built my career. And now, they'd save my home. I called Brian while strolling through Brussels Grand Place. She can't sell what she doesn't own, he confirmed. Any sale she attempted is null. The buyers have no legal claim. And Vanessa? She just committed fraud. She can't sell property she doesn't own. That's fraud. Criminal charges are possible, though I assume that's not your preferred outcome. It wasn't. Despite everything, I didn't want Vanessa facing legal trouble. But I also couldn't let her take the house. I've contacted the county recorder's office, Brian continued. They flagged any attempted transfers on the property. I'll notify local title companies, too. This sale won't go through. After we hung up, I didn't return to my hotel right away. I found a small cafe, ordered a coffee, and sat for 2 hours watching life unfold in Brussels. Tourists, locals, umbrellas in the rain. 15 years of marriage had collapsed into this moment. What struck me most wasn't anger. It was clarity. The betrayal wasn't just about Kyle or the house. It was the casual cruelty. The laughter in Vanessa's voice when she broke the news, as if our life together had been disposable. As if my pain was a side note. I texted my Brussels client, citing a family emergency. Then I booked the earliest flight home. On the 9-hour flight to Florida, I didn't read or sleep. I sat still, calm, resolved. For decades, I negotiated tough deals for others. Now it was my turn. This wasn't revenge. It was justice. Balance. A course correction. By the time the plane touched down in Jacksonville, I knew exactly what I needed to do. I wouldn't yell. I wouldn't beg. I'd enforce the contract she never bothered to read. In real estate, signatures always outweighed intentions. That was a lesson Vanessa was about to learn. I didn't tell her I was coming home early. Rented a car at the airport. Drove the 40 minutes to Amelia Island in silence. It was just after noon on Saturday when I pulled into our driveway. A black Mercedes convertible I didn't recognize sat in my usual spot. Kyle, I assumed. The front door was unlocked. From the kitchen, I heard laughter. Vanessa and a male voice discussing renovation plans. The wall between the living room and dining room should come down first, the man was saying. Open concept is everything in beach homes. I set my suitcase down quietly and walked in. Vanessa stood at the kitchen island, sundress and champagne glass in hand. Kyle stood behind her, his arm around her waist, pointing to something on a tablet. They looked up as I entered. Vanessa's smile wavered for a second. Keller, she said, trying for casual. Didn't expect you back until Monday. Clearly, I replied, glancing at Kyle, who removed his arm. This is awkward, Kyle mumbled. I should go. Actually, I said, you should stay. This concerns you too. Vanessa's tone hardened. Let's not make this difficult, Keller. I've been unhappy for years. We both deserve a fresh start. I nodded. Agreed. Which is why I've already spoken to my lawyer about the fraudulent sale you tried to execute. Her face went pale. What are you talking about? I opened my briefcase, pulled out the trust documents and the deed. The beach house isn't yours to sell, Vanessa. It hasn't been for almost a year. Kyle looked stunned. You said the sale was final, he said to her. It was, she replied, uncertainly. Check the deed, I said. It's owned by the Keller-Whitaker Living Trust. You signed the transfer papers last May. Remember those refinancing forms you didn't read? She snatched the papers, eyes scanning them. This isn't possible, she whispered. Not only is it possible, I said, it's binding. The sale is void. The buyer's been notified. Kyle deflated. I'll wait in the car, he muttered, and left. Alone, Vanessa's shock turned to anger. You tricked me. No, I said. I protected my assets. You signed without reading. That's not trickery, it's negligence. She tried a softer angle. Keller, be reasonable. Let's split the profits. No need for lawyers. There are already lawyers, I replied. Not just mine. The buyers are furious. They're exploring legal options. You wouldn't, she said. I'm not doing anything, I said. Just enforcing ownership. What happens next is up to you. Her expression darkened. She grabbed her phone. I'm calling my sister's attorney. You're not getting away with this. I nodded. You should consult legal counsel. I'll be at the Hilton tonight to give you space. But I'll be moving back in Monday. The house isn't being sold. As I turned to leave, she called after me. This isn't over, Keller. I glanced back at her, still standing in the kitchen we'd once built together, glass in hand. Actually, Vanessa, I said. I think it is. Sunday morning, I met with Brian. His office was quiet, empty of the usual paralegals and assistants that filled on weekdays. Brian looked tired but focused as he spread several documents across his desk. There's more, he said without preamble. After your call, I had my investigator dig a little deeper. He pushed a folder toward me. Inside were bank statements, credit card charges, and property records I'd never seen before. Vanessa's been busy, Brian continued. She opened a separate bank account last year. Transferred about $170,000 from your joint savings. The number landed like a punch to the gut. That was most of our liquid emergency fund. And this, he added, sliding another document over. It was paperwork for a commercial lease, retail space in Savannah. The lease was in both her name and Kyle Bennett's. They're opening a fitness boutique. Signed 3 months ago. I stared at the documents, trying to make sense of it. This wasn't an affair. It was a strategy, a plan, one they'd been working on for months. The timing makes sense now, I muttered. She wasn't just offloading the house for a clean break. She needed startup capital. Brian nodded. And one more thing. The buyer for your beach house? It's a shell company. Guess who owns it? I looked up. Kyle. Close. His brother. Jason Bennett. They were trying to buy the house under market, hide the connection, and flip it after forcing your hand. The clarity hit hard. This wasn't just betrayal. It was a scheme. A coordinated effort to extract maximum financial value before walking away. Something shifted in me. The steady calm I'd held since that phone call changed. Hardened. This wasn't about heartbreak anymore. What are my options? I asked. Legally? You're solid, Brian said. The trust protects the house. We can freeze joint accounts. As for the $170,000, that's trickier. Florida's an equitable distribution state. She could claim it as her share. I nodded. And the fraudulent sale attempt? That's where we have leverage. It's criminal fraud. Maybe even grand theft, depending on how the DA sees it. But I'm guessing you don't want her facing criminal charges. He was right. I didn't want jail time. But I wasn't going to be robbed either. Here's what I recommend, Brian said, pulling out a fresh document. A divorce settlement. Fair but tough. She returns 60% of the transferred funds. Waives any claim to the house. You waive any claim to her new venture. Clean break. No criminal charges. I reviewed the document, weighing every clause. And if she refuses? Brian's expression turned grim. Then we pursue full legal remedies, including potential criminal charges. But let's try the high road first. As I left his office, my phone buzzed. A text for Vanessa. My lawyer says you're bluffing. That house is joint property, no matter what tricks you pulled. See you in court. I showed the message to Brian. He shook his head. She's getting bad advice. The trust is airtight. Send the offer, I said. But prep for court. I don't think she'll take the rational path. That Sunday, I spent hours in my hotel room reviewing documents, sorting through 15 years of financial history. With every line item, every charge I hadn't authorized, my focus sharpened. This wasn't about property anymore. It was about principle. Monday morning, I checked out and drove to the courthouse. Brian had already filed the divorce petition and an emergency motion to freeze property transfers. By 10 a.m., it was official. Vanessa couldn't legally sell the house, trust or no trust. Next, I visited First Coast Bank. Spoke with the branch manager, Thomas Parker, an old client from my early years in real estate. Within the hour, my accounts were separated and the rest of my assets secured. Anything else I can help with, Keller? Thomas asked as we finished. Yeah. When's the next auto payment to Elite Fitness? He checked. $300. Tomorrow. Been active for about 18 months. Cancel it. And every other auto payment except for beach house utilities. By noon, I'd updated my credit cards, notified HR, and contacted our insurance rep. I was untangling everything methodically, precisely. My phone buzzed repeatedly. Vanessa, her sister. An unknown number I assumed was her lawyer. I let them all go to voicemail. Around 2 p.m., I drove to the beach house. Vanessa's car was gone, but the black Mercedes was still there. I used my key. Half expected the locks to be changed. They weren't. Kyle was in the living room, stuffing a duffel bag. He froze. Just grabbing my stuff, he said quickly. I didn't answer, just stood in the doorway. Look, man, he started, clearly nervous. This wasn't personal. Vanessa said the marriage was over way before I came along. Where is she? I asked. At her sister's. She's upset. Said you're trying to ruin her? I almost laughed. Is that what she told you? That I'm the villain in this story? He shrugged, avoiding my eyes. She said you were controlling. That you trapped her in this town while you traveled the world. And the business, the one you two were planning to open, she said it all fell apart because of you. With money from selling my house? I asked. Kyle's eyes widened, confirming everything Brian had uncovered. That's what I thought, I said. You can tell Vanessa that her settlement offer is at Brian Eldridge's office. She has 48 hours to sign before we move forward with a contested divorce and potential fraud charges. Fraud. The panic in his voice was real. What are you talking about? Attempting to sell property she didn't own. Launching a business with misappropriated funds. Pick one. Kyle clutched his duffel bag and walked to the door. I stepped aside. One more thing, I said. Jason Bennett, your brother, right? Tell him if he wants to avoid being named in a fraud investigation, he needs to formally withdraw his offer by close of business today. The look on Kyle's face said it all. Within an hour, Brian called to inform me that Jason had contacted the realtor to rescind his offer on the beach house. That evening, I changed the locks, deactivated the security system, and installed a new one with cameras. I ordered dinner from the seafood place Vanessa and I used to love and ate on the deck. The ocean rolled in, calm and steady, unaware of the chaos that had unfolded. Tomorrow would bring more legal wrangling, more untangling of our life. But that night, in the house that was still mine, I felt something close to peace. Not joy. Divorce never brings joy, but the quiet strength of knowing I had defended what was rightfully mine. 3 weeks later, I sat across from Vanessa in Brian's conference room. Her attorney, young, well-dressed, and clearly in over his head, sorted through papers with a nervous air. Vanessa hadn't spoken to me directly since the kitchen confrontation. Everything had come through legal threats, all of which Brian had handled. This was supposed to be a pre-trial hearing, but none of us expected it to get that far. The evidence was too overwhelming. Before we begin, Brian said calmly, I'd like to submit the following into evidence. He slid 3 documents forward. The trust deed, bank records of the withdrawn funds, and a signed affidavit from Jason Bennett admitting his role in the attempted fraudulent sale. Vanessa's lawyer read through them quickly. His confidence evaporated. He leaned in to whisper something to her. She didn't look at me, but I could see the tension in her posture. We're prepared to settle, her lawyer finally said. Brian nodded. Our terms are simple. Vanessa returns $100,000 of the withdrawn funds. She waives all claims to the beach house and any properties in the trust. Keller waives all claims to her business venture. No criminal charges will be pursued. Vanessa looked up at me then, the first time all morning. And if I refuse? She asked. Then we proceed with prosecution, Brian replied. Fraud over $100,000 is a felony in Florida. Her lawyer placed a calming hand on her arm. We need to discuss this privately. They stepped outside. 17 minutes passed. When they returned, Vanessa didn't meet my gaze. We accept the terms, her lawyer said. I didn't gloat, just sign where Brian indicated. Watched as Vanessa did the same. Her signature, a symbol of 15 years of holidays, anniversaries, and tax returns, marked the end. 6 months later, I stood on the deck of the beach house, coffee in hand, watching the sun rise over the Atlantic. The place looked different. I'd renovated the kitchen, replaced the old siding, installed hurricane-grade windows. Every upgrade had been practical and symbolic. Out with the old, in with a future I controlled. I'd heard Vanessa and Kyle had launched their fitness boutique in Savannah on a smaller scale, and that the business was struggling. I didn't feel joy in that, just a passing melancholy over what could have been. The divorce had finalized 3 months earlier. No delays, no appeals. Vanessa returned the funds as agreed, which I promptly invested in a commercial building in downtown Jacksonville. Modest, steady tenants, predictable income. My phone rang. Monica Harrison. Just checking in, she said. How's the beach house? Better every day, I replied, watching pelicans glide across the horizon. Thanks again for helping with the trust. That's what friends are for, she said. Actually, I came across another investment, similar to the beach house deal. Solid structure, reliable income. Interested? Send me the details, I said. I'm listening. After we hung up, I stayed a while longer, watching the tide roll in, steady, unchanging. There was comfort in that rhythm, in something you couldn't manipulate or deceive. I finished my coffee and headed back inside. The house was just wood and glass, nothing more. But it was mine, and for now that was enough.